today, Raila Odinga is expected to lead his supporters in a major rally at Kamukunji grounds. And some of the things that they are protesting include the Finance Bill 2023 that was just signed into law by President William Ruto yesterday. So how do they intend to turn this around? Helping us with this conversation next to me is Joe Halende, and then at the far end, he's a lawyer, and then we have a political analyst, Meshach Odede. Let's continue this conversation, but let me begin with Meshach, then I'll get back to you on the high cost of living. Meshach, when the MPs were voting, but even before the voting process, the Azimio leaders said initially that they had the numbers. They have the numbers at the Nairobi County Assembly. They said they have the numbers in Parliament. But then when the voting began, they walked out. This is the critical time that Kenyans expected them to save them. We also saw some Azimio leaders or MPs allied to the Azimio coalition, Esther Passaris, voting in favor of this bill. Was the coalition organized on what really they wanted moving forward?
Purity, I think the truth is Kenyans elected more members of parliament in the Azimio coalition. But that is not the case right now. Members of parliament jumped immediately. They realized that William Ruto became the president. So they wanted to go where the power is, so that we can perpetuate the same things that we have always wanted to run away from as a country. You know, some of us got a stint, a little bit of it, in the Moi government, where the decision and everything rested by the president's desk. And it was not wrong. That is what the constitution had then. This is a new constitution, but now our software has remained in the old constitution, where we think we are in parliament, elected as Kenya Kwanza, to represent or be an executive wing of parliament. When the constitution we have envisaged that the whole parliament, whether you are elected independent, Azimio, Kenya Kwanza, your work was to oversight the executive, and it doesn't matter who the executive is. So the executive needed to come and reason with parliament in their agendas, which they promised in their manifesto for elections. But not whip, like we call it, whip, meaning if Purity refuse to vote with us, then we will not consider any development agenda in your area, the area you represent. And this is why we see a few members of parliament from Azimio making it look like Maendeleo is found in State House. So we have to go and beg the president, while we know the constitution that is here today has put budget right inside parliament. And so they are supposed to be putting all those things they want in the budget and do everything, because right now the constitution only gave the executive, through the treasury, ministry in charge of treasury, the authority to tell parliament and Kenyans how this money will be collected. But the budget itself is done in parliament. So it baffles Kenyans who have understanding of what the constitution is when you are representing me as my member of parliament and you're telling me I voted because I wanted Maendeleo, I needed to go and ask the president for Maendeleo. Then why are you representing me? What makes you think we all should not just go to the president whenever we want anything? So what we saw from the beginning of this term is a huge shift from the Azimio coalition, members of Azimio coalition, and you still see the likes of Sabina Chege and part of Jubilee members of parliament, who we both know and should not even be a discussion. If somebody like Honorable Ochieng, David Ochieng from Ugenya, and his party, who is one member of parliament, campaigned with Raila and Azimio until he was announced, you are the winner of this seat in Ugenya. And then the next day after signing certificate, he is now in the other side of the coalition. How do we even start discussing that? Did Azimio have numbers or not? We both know Azimio had numbers, but we know the guys who are using the crooked means, have used their crooked means to entice and even to threaten. And I want to say on camera, some of these members of parliament are very dirty. They did very dirty businesses here and there. Government have shifted. It is now the other side having the executive. They fear the same thing. Wait, Purity, when we were going for this election of 2022, there was this term, a lot of this term, state capture. Where do you think that term went to? I mean, where are those? Because they were supposed to deal with state capture. So if state capture had destroyed things in this country to that level they were campaigning, then I expected a face today in jail and we would be told this is the state capture. So where did that term go? I mean, you no longer see it because it is now the other state capture. I mean, it was a spirit and the spirit is now on this other side and we can't put anybody to task and say this is it. So the same state capture is what is now capturing ODM, Wiper, Kenya, the entire Azimio brigade. So when they go to parliament and some of them knows they have not paid their taxes and the president is saying on the other side, everybody will have to pay tax and we must deal with people who don't pay tax. And I know I'm a member of parliament, I have not paid tax. Does it matter if I am in ODM or not? I will find a flimsy reason. Now I went to look for my Endeleo and now they are the ones, Joe, Halende and team, are baptizing a good name that pro-Maendeleo and anti-Maendeleo. That is what we see. That is what politics has.
Yeah. Joe, yes. let me get, but before we took a break, we were talking about the high cost of living. We are actually yet to recover as a country, as a globe, from the effects of climate change. But when you look at some of these taxes, like and look at the pay slip, like you have to pay now the housing levy, among other taxes, 16% VAT on petroleum products. This means that the cost of living is going to increase. We are going to see Kenyans either living above their means or having to lower their standards. And even on the housing levy debate, it was a good thing, many people said, but it was not timely, looking at where we are as a globe. So is there a plan to ensure that Kenyans are cushioned from, the high cost of living, from the increased cost of the petroleum products that is, of course, going to increase beginning July? Yeah.
There is a serious plan on how to cap the high cost of living within the Kenya Kwanza agenda and manifesto. And the first thing that Kenya Kwanza administration did, it was a long-term plan. One, reduce the cost of fertilizer. Fertilizer, when the handshake government was in town, a bag was going at a cost of 7,000. Today, a bag of fertilizer is going at 3,500. We have registered 5 million Kenyan farmers. We are assured that 222 hectares of land across this country has been farmed, and we are going to have bumper harvest. Two, we have, in this finance bill, we have put something called zero rating on the supply of maize products, so that at the end of the day, there is no high taxes on anything to do with unga. We have ensured that there's zero rating on LPG gas, so the cost of gas eventually will go down. I agree with you, the 16% on VAT will have a spike. Yeah. But there is a way we have cushioned Kenyans in terms of food production, because our agenda or our plan was that you cannot do subsidies at consumption level, which Azimio is pro. Putting subsidies at consumption level. And I can assure you, during that period of handshake government, subsidy on maize was 8 billion per month. Subsidies on fuel was 52 billion per month. And that money was not paid during those 4 months that Azimio gave that subsidy. It is within this the handshake government, because it's one and the same. Azimio, because they metamorphosed from a handshake to Azimio, all of them. So it is one and the same thing. So what we need to realize is that our plan is a long-term plan, and our plan was to reduce the cost of production in agriculture, fertilizer, farm input, pesticides, and assure farmers that they go to farm. The next thing that we must realize, as much as we are facing the issue of global change, we managed to overcome that stage. We have rainfall and people are in farming and whatever they are doing, but we are against the people who are inciting Kenyans to go for maandamano instead of going to their farm. That's the main thing that we need to deal. And before I finish, there's something that my brother has talked about. He's a government expert and governance expert, sorry. He needs to realize there are things that are theoretical and there are things that are practical. As if you go to our constitution, you will realize that it categorically talks about the majority side and the minority side. The majority side is pro-government. Anything from government will come from the majority side. And one thing that, and the good thing that Kenyans need to understand is this. The hardest question that President William Ruto faced was from within Kenya Kwanza on things to do with this finance bill. I'm aware of a parliamentary caucus that took place in State House. A full day. Our parliamentarians putting the president and his team to task to explain to them, to be able to understand what is this in this finance bill, what is this about house levy, what is this about VAT. And all of them within that time frame came into a conclusion and accepted to support the finance bill. I'm not aware, even our media house is not aware about a parliamentary caucus from the opposition.
But maybe he's aware.
Whipping is not about telling people just vote, go and vote yes and go and vote no. It is about taking time, going through the process, internalizing the document, having heavy questions within the in-house, so that when you come out, you are on the same page. We did that from our side, and that's why there was massive support. And the only person who had a dissenting opinion, who is Wamchomba, and our deputy president, our deputy party leader, called her out because she did not attend that meeting in State House, the parliamentary caucus, first. Second, within our party hierarchy, UDA, there are avenues how you can channel your dissenting opinion. She didn't do that. 3, we have a party leader and a deputy party leader who are more accessible to Kenyans and everybody. Even our president, and I normally say this, and I've been saying this, our president is more accessible than some of these ministers and PSS or government officials who are posing around this town. Wamchomba did not take that route of accessing our party leader or our deputy party leader. She started making noise all over
She
town.
said that she had listened to the people.
If you listen to the people, she's a representative of the people. When you listen to the people and you have your leaders, why don't you have a sit down with your leaders and tell your leaders that these are the people, and what my people are saying is this and this and this. How do we solve this problem? She didn't do that. She has never tried to access our party structure. She was not in the parliamentary caucus. She did not try to access the president or the deputy president. So how do you help somebody like that?
Yeah.
So those are among the issues that within our mandate we can be able to solve, because we have a plan on how to reduce the cost of living. We have a plan on how to run our politics.
But are Kenyans aware of this plan?
Yes. Kenyans are aware of this plan. The only people who are not aware of this plan are the usual people who believe in maandamano, and that's their only route. They don't believe in sitting down and having a conversation, because you highlight issues that you want to be addressed. You go to the table, you read to the table, you want to reintroduce other issues, and you want to set other ultimatums. For heaven's sake, we cannot allow that.
Purity, I think Joe has already given us the answers that we were looking for in this show. Number one, he started by confirming that this whole thing about finance bill, about the fuel tax, is another foreign entity forcing our hands into it. He confirmed that, because however much you wanted to put it, the other governments did this and did that, signed this and signed that. We both know and agree here that that other government was already stopped by Kenyans. So what did the foreign entities do to them? Nothing. They were still alive until this morning, unless something happens to them this morning, which we don't know. So why is your government afraid to say and stand with Kenyans on the same? That yes, you brought this, IMF or whoever you are, you brought this, but Kenyans said no, we do not want it. So take it back and leave us alone. Why are they not doing that?
All right.
Because there is more to it than just that.
All right. I'll give you each 1.5 minutes for final remarks, and I would also welcome you to tell us, are you aware of Raila's itinerary today, and maybe what time do we expect the rally this afternoon or morning?
I didn't finish what I was saying.
Finish and then you wind up with that. Finish
yes.
and then you...
Okay. Yeah, so after finding out that that is what happened, then we now know as Kenyans that the reason why we are putting taxes all over, Joe, does it not bother you? Because you asked him if the Kenya Kwanza government really wants to better the life of Kenyans, which they promised. And some of them, they even promised with timelines. We have not seen any of those timelines happening. So if they really wanted to do that, for example, in that bill, there was a question we asked. If you really want to give Kenyans jobs on this helicopter thing, which you want to import aircraft at on free mode without taxes, and you are saying you want to create this industry, and I asked in some other different show, how many of these young people who you claim to be creating jobs, do you know who repair those aircraft? Very few. And even that course itself is not a cheap course to go and do in college. But that aside, the question that was asked, if we really wanted hustlers to get these jobs, why are we not doing that to motor vehicles? Why are we not doing that to borders? Because we know that is where the real hustler is, and that is what will turn around things. We are not careful to do that. Instead, we are running to say, Mr. Speaker, I vote yes for helicopters to be imported free. When we could have done it on piki-piki, we could have done it on motorcycle.
Okay.
About Jacom's itinerary, I think there was a small delay on flight, but he will be here on time, and people will still go on and gather. But even if Raila was to miss, Kenya, I mean, Azimio has got leaders, and Martha Karua is here, Kalonzo Musyoka is there, and a host of many other members of parliament. He's not missing, they are there. So the meeting will still happen, and we will get the way forward by the time the meeting ends.
Joe, please.
The president promised Kenyans that he will swear in the 6 judges immediately is sworn in. He did that. The president promised Hustler Fund, which was a deliberate attempt to caution the predatory lending that was killing young Kenyans in this country. There's Hustler Fund. The president promised a reduced cost of production in terms of fertilizer, cheap fertilizer. He did that. The president promised to ensure that independence of institutions so that they can be able to fight corruption. He has done that. He has increased the budget allocation for judiciary from 14 billion to 22 billion. He has given the police force mandate to control its finances. The president has done that.
All right.
And I keep on telling Azimio people, one thing I like about this president, and Azimio, they always say promise after promise. For us, it's promise after promise and fulfilling those promises.
Joe,
as I finish,
yeah.
Azimio have their right and the right of demonstrating, picketing, and assembling. But that right has a caution. It must be peaceful and unarmed. We must all protect the livelihoods and lives of Kenyans.
Joe Halende,
which they are not protecting in Kericho. The livelihoods in Kericho are going into drains.
Joe Halende, lawyer, advocate of the High Court of Kenya, and political analyst Mishak Odede. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for making time for us this morning. All right. And of course, keep it here at KTN News. Raila Odinga is expected to lead a major rally, other Azimio leaders in a rally in Kamukunji. Therefore, we are keeping tabs on that report. Stay here and we shall be giving you live updates from Kamukunji. From the KTN News Center team, thank you so much for watching. My name is Purity Museanzuki. Have yourself a lovely day and God bless.